Episode 16, Lost in Space Movie Review.
Welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So, switch on your brain and enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I have joining with me the guy who can bench press with his eyebrows, Daniel.
Hey.
Also, I have the crazy cat lady in the making, Angela.
Meow.
And myself, the hairless Wookiee, Nate. Hey, what's up, guys? So, how are you guys?
Oh, you're doing good.
Good.
What have you guys been up to? How was your Mother's Day?
It's very motherly.
Yeah. Lots of mom stuff.
Did you guys do anything, or was it all about the moms?
I waited in line for a restaurant for 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Dedication.
no, you made a big mistake.
What'd you guys
We
have?
went to the most popular place in town.
Why would you?
So, I don't know. It's my dad's idea.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Blame it on the dad. Okay, see how it is.
How about you, Angela? Anything?
Well, we waited until the day after Mother's Day to take my mom out shopping. Me and my sister
Nice.
did that, so that
Yeah.
was fun.
This Mother's Day for me was weird because my mom and my grandma, both the moms in the house, were gone. So it was kind of like...
What do
I
you
was
do with
like-
yourself?
Yeah, it's like, happy Mother's Day, Dad? I don't know.
Who's gonna make me breakfast today? I don't
Exactly.
Oh my
understand.
gosh.
So, changing the pace, Daniel, I recently saw you did a World of Warcraft photo shoot cosplay. Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so a cosplayer here in town contacted me. She made this really awesome suit of armor. You can look her up on Instagram. Her name on there is Miss Madison Cosplay, and that's MISS. So yeah, she made this character from World of Warcraft. I think it's kind of a modified character. She calls it a Blood Elf Death Knight. It's a mouthful.
Ooh.
It's super evil. Yeah, it's scary. So anyway, she had this awesome costume. It's got like LEDs built into the armor. She has this huge axe that also has LEDs built into it. It's a really elaborate costume, and it's very impressive.
Nice.
It's really that kind of high fantasy, just crazy armor. You know how women's armor is in fantasy. It's not practical,
Bikini
but
armor?
looks pretty cool. Basically, it's a step above that.
Okay, well, there's that.
So,
That's good.
Yeah. So I photographed her in a wooded area. It was kind of funny. It's actually right next to a playground. So there was there's like some older kids like kind of watching like, oh, are you a video game character? Like, who are you and stuff.
that's cool.
So yeah, we had some onlookers off and on, and it was fun getting out of the car and going back to the car because she had this wild outfit on,
That's
and
so
we're like at a playground and a library area in
That's
San Antonio.
great.
So yeah, it was fun. I always love to see people's reactions to my cosplayers that when I'm photographing them. You just never know what people are going to do. A lot of times people come up and they want a picture with them because
Nice.
they've never seen anything like it. So that's fun. So anyway, the photo shoot went really good. I was going for the really dark fantasy look. So I did some real dramatic lighting, underexposed the area. So it looked really dark. It looked like it was nighttime, but it was only like at 6 or 7 p.m.
Golden hour.
Yeah, golden hour basically, but because we were in a lot of trees, I was able to make it look real dark and cold,
Nice.
which I love for this kind of shoot. And I did a bunch of really awesome special effects with like all the LED pieces on her costume. I made glow in Photoshop, so there's a lot of glowing, a lot of flares, and just fogginess. It's really really cool. So
All the juicy stuff.
yeah, all that good juicy Photoshop goodness.
Yeah.
If you want to see that, you can go to my website, danielgrowphoto.com/blog, and you'll see it right there.
And then in the last episode, we talked about cosplayers that 3D print them stuff. Was this a suit that she did through 3D printing?
No, she carved it out of either Evaphone or Warbler. I can't remember. I always mix them up. But it's kind of a material that you carve and shape.
Oh, cool.
And then you texture and paint it. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that sounds really cool. The photos look great as always, but it's really cool.
Thanks.
So today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about Lost in Space, not the Netflix version. Back in the 90s. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Kind of a
We got you.
teaser.
You're trapped. You can't get out now.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, run.
The 90s. Run away.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, man. So I remember when this movie came out, I never really was able to see it because I was pretty young when it came out. But now that it's on Netflix, on the streaming, and so far in the last, I'll say maybe 2 weeks, I've seen it 5 times.
Oh my
Right?
god.
Really?
Yeah, so...
Dang.
Dang.
Someone's
But-
got a new favorite movie.
Well, I watched it by
real.
myself. And then I was like, I remember watching it, but I don't remember exactly like what's going on. because that right before I watched it, no, right after I watched it, the Netflix series came out. So I was like, wait, what are they talking about? So I went back and watched the movie, and I was like, this version is nothing like the Netflix version. So I was like, okay, and so that was another 2 hours and 4 minutes of my life wasted. And so, and then I think I ended up one of the evenings. I was like, "Hey, Angela, we should watch it." And so she watched it on here, and I watched it. And we came back, and I was like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Yeah, no."
It wasn't that harsh. I was just like, it's okay.
And then a couple evenings ago, my dad was like, "Hey, do you want to watch The Lost in Space?" And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, let's watch it." So, I feel bad because I fell asleep because I had seen it so many times. But
Yeah.
But then I think last
you absorbed
night
it through your subconscious. It's okay.
Yeah, pretty much onto a whole nother level. I fell asleep listening to it. And then last night I watched a little bit of it just to kind of, pass time. But
Robot's voice always puts me to sleep.
Exactly. That real, yeah. Anyways, but so just kind of start things off. What did you guys think about the movie and just a whole?
Yeah, so without spoilers, I'm weird. Like, I'm really mixed on this movie. I love it, and there are some serious things that really bother me.
Yeah.
I want to give it, almost want to give it like a 4.5 star rating, but then I'm like, no, this is like a 2.5 at the same time.
Or you want to give an Angela rating, like a 3 out of 4. You're like, what?
It's a legit thing, I swear.
I give it an 11 out of 48 stars.
Anyway, sorry.
I give it a 7 out of 10 robots.
Yeah. Yeah. We just start doing that out of some arbitrary object.
Yeah.
So for no spoilers for right now, I enjoyed it. It was very enjoyable for me, and it also for me it brought back a lot of childhood memories because I did watch this when I was young, and I really liked it when I was young because the graphics and the action. It was very fast-paced movie. A lot of eye candy, and for me as a kid, like that's what I just love, that kind of stuff. So this movie, I'm a little biased because I do have some, sentimental stuff going on. It's enjoyable and it's fun. And yeah, that's what I'll say right now.
Were you able to watch it in the theaters?
I think I might have. I don't recall. I don't remember either way.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt good about the movie going into it. It was kind of, I don't know. It was good until I saw Joey from Friends. And it kind of threw like he was.
So almost immediately.
Yeah, pretty much.
1 minute in.
It was a good solid minute of, never mind.
This is a good movie.
Man.
But actually, I think Angela brought this up in another conversation that it's kind of funny seeing Joey from Friends playing it because in Friends he's an actor trying to get a big role, and then he basically gets his role.
That's hilarious.
And so in reality, he actually gets a role. I mean, it's a good movie, but it's kind of funny. She pointed out I didn't even think about that. That was hilarious.
It's a lot more fun to watch that movie if you think of it as this is where Joey got his big break in Friends, and he's starting a movie in the Friends universe.
Well, the irony, right?
So yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. There was, being able to see it for the first time in 2018 when we have good graphics like, the Star Wars reboots and the Star Trek reboots and all that stuff. And you go back and watch, you're like, the 1977 Star Wars did a little bit better than y'all did, but. No, it was a good movie, and the character building was kind of weird in a lot of ways. There was
bittersweet.
Yeah, it was. I liked it, and again, Angela ruining the movie for me. It was Eliza Thornberry in there, and I was like, oh god, the girl plays Eliza Thornberry from the cartoon. I was like,
yeah.
What? Wait, which one?
Penny.
The Penny.
Penny is.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. She apparently became a big voice actor for cartoons.
Yeah. The dad played kind of one of those roles in the movie. I think personally was kind of like the scientist that like loved his family, but I think he loved science more because at the beginning of the movie, he's not even there to take time to be with his son. He misses dinner and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of portrays the movie. It's kind of a weird start off, to be completely honest. When you watch it, you see Joey from Friends, and then you see the dad not showing up. And
then Eliza Thornberry is there, and you're like, "What is this movie?"
Yeah, exactly. Those three things always ruin a movie for me. When there's Joey, there's an absent dad, and Eliza Thornberry.
Yeah,
I hate when that happens.
It's the worst.
So, without going into any spoilers, I mean, is it like I don't know how we're gonna get around some of the spoiler stuff here, but
yeah, it won't last long.
No, it's coming close, guys. So just be ready.
I just wish the script writing was better. honestly.
Yeah, that would have really saved a lot of the movie.
I know we're going to definitely have to talk about this more in depth after the spoiler warning, but yeah, there's definitely some plot issues here, and even just the acting. I felt like a couple characters were kind of dry.
Yeah.
Like someone, I'm not going to say who, the dad, sometimes seems more lifeless than the robot.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
I'm sorry, but
That's
it's
cold.
true.
Oh,
It's
man,
true
that's
though. And then there's just
such
it's
a low
also
blow.
the dialogue in general, and the movie's just very cheesy
That's
at
fun.
points.
You know, it reminded me of when we were talking about how cringy Episode 3 was of Star Wars with Anakin's, or just in general, Anakin's dialogue sometimes are really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had some flashbacks to this movie or that movie.
Yeah, and then I found out who ended up writing this movie, and it's the same person who wrote Batman and Robin, and I'm like, oh, well, that explains some things.
That is what went wrong.
Wouldn't that be George Clooney's version of Batman?
Yes,
Oh no,
Ooh,
I'm sorry.
We don't mention that one.
the one who wrote such amazing puns such as "Stay cool," and that Arnold Schwarzenegger got to say
And
is Mr. Freeze.
wasn't that the Batman that had the nipples?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's when the Bat
There
nipples
you go.
originated.
See,
Who could
right
forget
there, right
those?
there. You just look at the nipples of Batman. You're like, no, Lost in Space is a dud.
Writing was rough. I feel like this movie was a big money grab because this franchise is, along with Star Trek, is one of like the classic TV sci-fis. Honestly, I can't even think of any others. It's really just Star Trek and Lost in Space were really big back in the 60s. Was it the 50s as well?
No,
I
it
can't
started in
remember.
the mid 60s.
Yeah, in the
65 through
60s.
68, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like this is kind of a money grab as well as an attempt to really use a bunch of new fancy, cool new toys that Hollywood had developed in the late 90s. Because 3D graphics was getting somewhat to movie quality. I mean, there's some amazing special effects in some mid 90s sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
There's some. It's not like 3D wasn't capable yet. It just was.
Heck,
It wasn't there.
yeah.
And I learned that in a behind the scenes video I watched about this movie was, I think it was like the special effects supervisor. He said that they had almost like 6 months or maybe a little bit more than 6 months to do like 700 or 800 CGI shots.
Yeah,
so
I
they
think
were
it was-
really rushed.
In the 6 month plus period that they had, it was something like they had to do 3 big shots a day. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's
Ugh.
crazy. And computers back then were not that great.
No.
It's just like, I don't know how they even did it at all. So that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So there was some elements that contributed to this movie not being as good as it could have been, such as that.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah. Well, guys, I don't think I can go any longer without spoiling stuff. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and set off the spoiler stuff, and we'll be right back.
Spoiler alert, Will Robinson. Spoiler alert.
All right, so now we're going to get to the spoilers part. Now, you guys have fair warning. If you haven't seen it, it came out in 1998. I don't feel bad for you. It's 2018.
Oh
Okay?
my
Come on,
gosh.
guys.
And for good measure, we just went ahead and gave you a spoiler warning. So now we can kick off with all the spoilers. Now tell me how you really felt about the movie.
How does this make you feel?
Well, Doctor. Man, I don't know, because I'm like in that awkward middle ground where you can't say it's good, but you don't want to say it's bad.
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah. It's weird.
it's like there's
Not
a lot of
movies like
things
that.
that could have been improved on for sure,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen. So
No.
sad.
Can we please do a podcast episode about the worst movies we've ever seen?
Oh gosh.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to take some time to remember all the bad ones we watched.
Yeah,
Maybe
all
I'll
the ones
delete
I
it out of my
suppressed.
memory, but
I don't watch bad movies. So,
That's my problem
yeah.
too. Like there's very few movies I've ever sat through. I'm like, what am I watching?
Yeah, true. First, let's talk about the story of this movie. So I actually do like the sci-fi story in general that this movie follows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the ending, and I don't really like a few of the big plot twists, like the going into the sun thing. But in general, it's cool. It's like a family, or rather a generation ship, is going to a faraway planet to start a colony. It's going to take 10 years for them to get there, and in the meantime, in 10 years, they're going to build a hypergate to get all the other humans there quicker through like a jump, like a Stargate.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a huge Stargate. And that's a cool concept. There's kind of like some people are taking their time. There's risk. And then at back home, there's a super cool technology being built, and that also takes some time. Now we've got terrorists thrown into there, and the terrorists, the bad people, are even making their own hypergate. So that's they never show it. Probably
What I
couldn't
don't
afford
understand about that part is like, why are they allowing them to build their own hypergate?
Yeah, just go blow it up. Like send a nuke over there. I don't get it.
I know.
Come on.
I don't understand that part, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty dumb. So I like that. And of course, when they get there, there's a derelict spaceship. And I'm a sucker for derelict spaceships that like you don't know why it's there. You don't know what happened. Like in the Sunshine. You guys see Sunshine?
Mm-mm.
Or and Event Horizon's another one where there's like this mysterious ship out in space. You don't know what happened. You don't know if there's people alive or if there's people still on the ship. You know, like I like that. I like that plot device. It's a lot of mystery, and you get it's a good excuse to explore an awesome looking spaceship.
You didn't have killer aliens just jump out of corridors and hug your face.
It makes me warm and fuzzy inside.
Oh, okay, good to know. That's what
I thought it was interesting seeing, throughout the movie, it was kind of getting to a point. I'm like, okay, just get to the point already. And then they're in a tragic situation where they have to jump. They say basically, we can't do that because we'll shoot out somewhere in the galaxy at random. And I thought it was interesting that they stumble across like the ship that Daniel was just saying about like this abandoned ship out in space. And I was like, once we got to that point, I was like, ooh. And I was like, but it kind of threw me off when they get on board and the technology is so much more advanced than what they have seen. And I was like, oh, shoot, they jumped far in time.
And there's an alien spaceship. They never even they show it.
Yeah, they're just like, there's an alien ship like on port here, and there's like stuff inside, but they don't really say anything about it.
They didn't have time to get it, but I thought that was cool. A little, a little piece of mystery thrown in the mix.
Yeah.
It's the spider ship.
Thought it was interesting that the dad was like, wow, these are parts of the galaxy I've never seen before. Like, and I'm like, wow, like, how far did y'all jump?
And it's almost like it was in another galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. They just said that there's like a lot of uncharted area to the galaxy, even if it's just like a singular galaxy, not even just across the whole universe. So
how did they find him? If they were truly lost within, let's say, in the galaxy or outside the galaxy, it doesn't matter. They hyper drove through the sun, and boom, they wound up on a random planet. But how did the Proteus even find them then? That's kind of crazy.
Convenience.
Is that a plot hole? I don't know. It's a leap in logic.
It's just a convenient plot device showing up.
Yeah.
So the people were doing reviews, and someone's like, "Hey, when they got to the abandoned ship, did anybody else feel like the Aliens movie was going to happen with all the creepy like pockets that where the spiders were?" And I was like, "Huh."
I kind of got a little bit of that vibe.
That is what happened.
Pretty much did, but without as much, awfulness and implanting eggs in people. Well, I mean, sort of happened to Dr. Smith, but
you're right. It is kind of a little bit of a nod to the aliens.
But he didn't die. He just became a freaky mutated spider person.
CGI spider guy.
Yeah. I guess we'll talk about that later when we go along further in discussing this plot.
There was a lot of cringe moments in there. He's like, evil knows evil, and I was like, oh god.
Oh,
so many cheesy lines, dude.
Man.
I had this thought, like, I feel like they wrote the baseline dialogue and the plot of the movie, and they thought they were dumb, but then the director's like, hey, we need to bring in another writer to like spice things up, add some one-liners and some catchy stuff. Get that other guy from over there in the corner. And he comes out and just like adds a bunch of crap throughout this dialogue and just like all this junk.
Yeah, saying that the air smells like ghosts. Or, you remember that line? That's the line that just made me go, what?
I have a list. I have at least 4 one-liners that are just... I rolled my eyes so hard, like I needed to see an optometrist after it. It was
bad. nothing will beat "I love you, wife."
Dang it, that's one of them. That's so good.
That's the line I think anybody who watches that movie is gonna remember, just because of how cheesy that line is, and then how bad his delivery is. He just sounds so dead inside. Oh
man, that's good. Maybe in the future they don't call each other babe; they just call each other like wife and husband. I don't know. Maybe it's a future thing.
I don't
Maybe
believe
not.
it.
I don't know. There was a couple of scenes like when they're on the ship and basically the spiders are like, get off, move, there's movement. And so they're shooting the spiders, and I'm just going to call him Joey. Joey.
It's not Don West.
He's like,
just Joey.
Joey West.
Joey West.
And hey, but apparently they had nanobots because the mask grew over his face.
Yeah, that was a really cool special effect, but very very impossible.
Yeah. How does he breathe in that?
Like, yeah, and also they use the same technology and same effect when they go into like hypersleep or cryostasis, whatever. Like that thing comes out of nowhere, and there's like a little piece of metal and a huge piece of metal comes out of the little piece. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look like nanobots, because the nanobots, I don't know, I would assume would look different. But it just like physically is like, wait, where did that thing even come from?
I think in a lot of movies, there's moments like that. You're like, okay.
It's like the effects supervisor, like, yeah, it looks cool, let's do it.
Yeah, probably.
That probably happened a lot.
I think some of the Iron Man suits were like that.
Yeah, it's true. Like the suitcase. Like, remember the suitcase armor?
Yeah.
Like he reaches down and like the arms come out. The chest piece kind of makes sense in the arms, but where did the legs come from? Where does the back pieces come from? Like, what? That can't fit in a suitcase. Ridiculous. So much for conservation of mass. Like,
in Daniel's mind, there should have been 2 suitcases.
Yeah, wait, give me the other one. Oh, okay, suitcase number 3 behind me.
That's funny.
Like a duffel bag, like a huge case.
That's funny.
Anyway, back to this movie.
But as they're on the spaceship, the abandoned spaceship, I honestly was hoping that the monkey they found would have not looked. I don't know what that was.
Awful.
I just wish he didn't exist.
Well, I mean, he's
right.
cute, but like,
No,
it's just the graphics are awful.
Yeah, that was one of the things that the guy said was really rushed. He's like, we should have had more time. They were actually, to get this, they were going to use a puppet made by Jim Henson himself.
Oh, I was about to say a puppet probably would have looked better.
Uh-huh. And Jim Henson is in the credits as something. I missed it, but it did say Jim Henson or his company. So like he was like hired. He was probably even paid to do stuff and make something and plan things, but they never actually used it. They went with CGI just because it's cool.
No, that makes me sad.
Yeah, that's one scene that they should have gone practical with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the motion tracking was good, and like the way that he interacted with their skin, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you're right, the texture and the lighting was really awful. And back then the lighting, like they couldn't do soft lighting. The guy says it in the behind the scenes video. He says like you can only do like hard 1-point lighting.
What?
You can't do soft lighting. You can't do like environmental lighting, which is really what makes something look real. Yeah, it's just because he said it's too much number crunching. I'm thinking, yeah, my phone could do that number crunching now. Like their graphics processors, if they even had GPUs, they weren't powerful enough to do all those calculations of light bouncing and light softening and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's why it looked bad, and they were rushed.
Man.
You're right. They should have just not
The spiders
done
were. The spiders were.
They needed to make Eliza Thornberry have her monkey partner, like in the cartoon. It's a pilot for the cartoon. That's all it was.
That's hilarious. I didn't even think about that. It was his name was Darwin, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The monkey's name?
Uh-huh.
This is Darwin of Lost in Space.
Yeah, it really is.
What's up with that?
Except he's way
Maybe
creepier.
Maybe it was in her contract. Must have cute monkey creature.
Yeah. Gotta sell Nickelodeon on this idea, guys.
So I did one thing that I do like about this movie is that there's a lot of loose threads that get picked up later in the movie, and they're not like overly obvious. Like one thing that maybe you might miss is that Don West's pilot friend, the guy in the beginning, I think his name is Jeb or Jed.
Jeb.
The one who saves his life.
Yeah, he's from The Walking Dead.
So let's call him Jeb. So he is the pilot of the Proteus. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's right.
So that's kind of a cool little loose tie, and there's also like that connection, like he's going to look for his friend. So I like that. And, we are assuming that this is maybe 15, 20 years in the future, he progressed up the ranks and now he's got his own ship. So that's kind of a cool little loose thread. Yeah. Another one that I noticed was Dr. Smith, when they're on the Proteus, he grabs this like control circuit thing off of one of the new robots that's in the wall and he hides it. And it's sort of a quick little shot and they don't make a big deal out of it. But later he uses that to control the future robot. Like it overrides. That's how he controls it, and he makes it like take over. So little things like that. I appreciate that stuff in story writing. It's kind of nice. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some of the characters. So Don West, I felt like was a really awful attempt at a Han Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
He is so disrespectful.
I know.
How is this guy in the military?
Like I said, it's just Joey, basically. If he had like military training, he still has the same flirtatious womanizing attitude as Joey.
He looks at the dad and he's like, "That's a fish I'd like to unwrap." I'm like, "What the
fish? I'd like cold fish. I love the thaw," or whatever he said to the dad.
In front of his dad.
And then later he flirts with her in front of the dad again, where he's like, "Is there enough room for 2 in this space pod or whatever?"
She's like, "No, there's not even enough room for your ego." I was like, "Dang."
I'm like,
that's a good one.
Like the
good
dad
burn.
is like your boss, like the
Yeah,
hottest thing.
not cool. Like, first of all, he's like this nasty lech of a womanizing, like, lame-o guy. But then in front of her dad, and he doesn't say anything.
I know.
It's like a triple, like, well, what's happening
He
here?
can't hear.
Who's
There's
writing
glass
this?
on the other side.
Yeah, right.
So in that first scene, though, when in front of the dad and in front of Judy, he's like, or when she walks away in front of the dad, he's like, that's a cold fish I'd like to thaw. Like, at first I was like, okay, he doesn't know that he doesn't know yet that that's Judy's dad, because she turns around and just says something like, thanks, Dad, or see you later, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's his dad. And but nothing happens.
Yeah.
There's like no reaction.
Yeah, I mean, he even sets it up. He's like, it's gonna be a long ride.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a long travel or whatever.
But then he still acts the same afterwards. So I was like, well, he learned nothing.
I mean, I guess
Like,
in
what kind of lame dad?
technicality, there was a piece of glass between the daughter and the dad.
I think his pod was still open. Like, I think that was before
was.
they all went to sleep.
They were out of the pods. Yeah, like that fish out of that thawing fish thing was like in his face. Like, they were not even in the pods yet. They were about to walk into the pods. But like, what kind of dad doesn't like give him a nasty look at least, or like,
I know.
like, seriously, you just said that about my daughter, and you're on the ship. Like,
He just kind of looks at him and smiles. I was like, huh.
yeah.
That's creepy as heck.
He's like, yeah, I know, right?
Oh, no.
He's not a good dad.
Bad dad.
He's not a great dad. Bad dad. Has Matt LeBlanc ever done an action movie before or after this?
I have no clue.
I don't think he did.
I know he's done a couple of sitcoms, of course, but
Yeah, he's like a comedy guy.
to be
I think
completely
this
honest,
ruined it. I think this movie ruined his
Maybe.
chances at anything.
I mean, honestly, the way he delivered a lot of his lines were just so generic and bland. Like, he was just reading them
Yeah.
off a script. So I can understand if he wasn't hired back to do like an action movie again.
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So Penny's voice, like, it hurts my ears.
Yeah, that's why.
I honestly thought for years I thought they digitally like upped it in pitch, like they altered it, but I think it's just her natural voice.
Yeah, considering that she was on that cartoon, The Wild Thornberrys, and that's how she sounded. Her character sounded on that show.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you need to stay in cartoons. Although she was in Mean Girls, and I don't remember her being that intolerable in Mean Girls.
she hit
but-
puberty.
Her voice went down. She's done voices for some superhero cartoons. I think she did Zatanna, which is in the DC universe, and I think she either did like Batgirl or Supergirl. So that's kind of cool. She's done some, and one of the other guys in this movie also went on to do voice acting for some DC shows.
Oh yeah,
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, there was speaking of character, there's a lot of cameos in this.
Yeah,
there are, which is really cool.
Yeah, for like those that don't know, the teacher that's talking to the mom, that was the original mom in the TV show.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then Don West, his superior, like the general,
Oh, yeah.
that's Don West, I believe. In
The guy he totally disrespects and does not honor whatsoever. Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's the Don West from the TV show. I was trying to find the third cameo. I think Angela told me, but I'm drawing a blank.
Oh,
the robot voices.
Oh, so that would be
Yeah.
the third. Okay.
but there's also
Never
a
mind.
couple others that I forgot about. Apparently, the two actresses that played Judy and Penny on the TV show were news reporters in the movie, which I completely missed.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they wanted to get the actor that played Dr. Smith in the TV show to cameo in the movie. And they were going to give him the role of the other sedition member that the Dr. Smith was talking to in the movie, but he didn't want to play a bit part. So he rejected it.
He was still getting therapy for the original TV series and how campy it was. So he's like, no, I haven't recovered yet.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's
What in the world are they doing in the desert?
I don't.
It's a hologram.
It's so stupid. Why are they in the desert though?
So
Why couldn't they
weird.
be in a room?
Like, are these like Middle Eastern terrorists and they're in the desert? Like, how stereotypical is that? I don't know.
It makes no sense.
You know why? Just because.
Right.
Because it looked cool.
Sure it did.
It's so out of the story. I was like,
I was
wait,
so
what?
confused.
Yeah.
Now, if they went back to the desert or something, I would have been, oh, no worries, but they didn't.
Yeah. No, they didn't touch it. Like, it would have been cool if like the camera panned around and there's like a huge city of like where the bad guys lived or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah,
that
or like
would've
a
been-
hidden
that
base
would've
under
been-
the sand or something.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Or if they looked up and the hypergate was up there, that'd be cool.
Yeah. No.
I don't know.
They just
They
had to stand there for dramatic effect, I guess, in a hologram room. Just
Then it
whatever.
all wished
I
away.
guess. I don't know.
Well, I think part of it was to give you the twist that Dr. Smith, who is obviously a bad guy for the seditionists,
Global Sedition, I think that's the name of the organization.
seditiators, seditioliters. Yeah, so them.
Sedition.
I was just calling them bad guys.
Okay.
I'm just going to call them bad guys.
That's a lot to say.
I feel like sedition sounds like a dirty word. I don't know. It's just weird.
Oh my gosh.
I feel dirty.
It's not
So Dr. Smith, we're obviously he's a bad guy, but then the surprise is like, oh my gosh, he's in the good guy's side. He's in the good guy's base because the hologram wishes away, and this little servant comes in, helps him with something, and then it's revealed that he's with the Jupiter team.
Yeah.
So that's that's probably why they did it, was like to throw you off, and then oh my gosh, he's a spy.
Yeah.
And he's like infiltrated. He's in there. He's not like trying to sneak in. He's already in the team, and he's working on the medical stuff for the ship.
Yeah, he's a physician.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. So it has serves a purpose, but still random why there's a desert.
They didn't need to be
I didn't understand that. I have no clue. No clue.
Like, is
at
the
all.
other bad guy actually in the desert? Why is he there?
That raises
Walking
even
on the
more
dunes.
questions. Just don't go there.
He's just strolling through the dunes of the desert.
Yeah. As you do.
He's like, I'm going on my nightly walk. Meet me there.
Maybe global warming is really
I mean,
bad.
like
well,
what Daniel was
technically
saying.
it
if
is.
they-
That's why Earth only has like 20 years left in
see.
the movie. So
I don't know. Maybe if they panned to like a base or a city or a building or something, it would have made more sense, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Nope.
So we're talking about characters and people. I gotta get these off my chest. These are the lines of dialogue that I just almost threw up in my mouth all over the place. The first one was Penny. She says, "I don't like the sound of that sound."
I remember that one. Yeah, that
Come
was.
on. What?
Man.
It makes sense because you hear that figure of speech. I don't like the sound of that. I mean, like, what if it's actually a sound? You don't like the sound of the sound.
Oh, she must work at the redundancy department.
And of course, the "I love you, wife." That one was great. I'm gonna start saying that to my wife. See what she
Please
says.
do, actually.
I love you, wife. You're probably having the best. And then Will says, "Forget your programming and act with your heart."
Oh, I hated that whole
it's a
sequence. Like,
robot.
how freaking
That scene was
cliched can you
awful.
get? All living things
Baseball
have a heart.
hologram, like,
Really now? Even the robot
'Cause I
says he was
feel-
programmed to not have emotions. So like, why did his little speech get through to him? It makes no sense. It's
so
That's
dumb.
funny.
And like he's like, "I'm gonna send my personality over to you," like just like that, just no big deal. Scan my brain, make a copy of my personality, and it's gonna look like a baseball, and I'm gonna upload it to you through a hologram.
yeah.
That stuff hurts me.
Yep.
And then last but not least, Jed says, "This Cold War just got hot."
Yeah, I remember that too.
Wow, that's bad.
You know what I wonder is like, why did they make him have that voice? Because the actor does not have that voice at all. He sounds like like he's had chain smoking problems, and I just wonder why they decided to go in that direction. Whatever.
Humanity's dying, and you're still smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, the air's bad enough as it is. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Oh, man. So I like I said earlier, I do like appreciate the attempt at character building because they do a lot of backstory, which is good. You know, they do some family dynamics. They they explain the teenage issues with why she doesn't want to go. Judy is just wrapped up in science, kind of like her dad. She's like a workaholic.
Yeah.
You know, that's good stuff. Like that sets you up for why things are how they are later. But just the delivery of it, about 50% of it is just awfully done, and just the lines and the acting.
Yeah, it's a shame.
That's why they did a Netflix show. They're like, we got to help this out, guys.
With that movie, I wish I could go back in time and sit in the theaters and look at everybody's reaction.
Yeah.
Do you guys like this stuff? What's wrong with you?
I want to hear the groans when he says, "I love you, wife." There were
Everybody
no
in the theater,
groans, and something's
"Ah,
wrong
it's
with the
so
audience.
funny." Like,
Yeah.
like, oh god.
It was the 90s. It was a different time.
No, there were good movies in the 90s, though. So
Oh,
can't
yeah,
say
there
that.
are.
Even like special
Dang,
effect wise, you look at Jurassic Park, which was made in '93, and that was pretty good for the most part.
Must go faster.
Yeah.
Must go faster.
I mean, there's no spaceship, but
No, but they're
Still.
dinosaurs. Honestly, I
you
think
can do a
it's,
dinosaur.
I think it's easier
Yeah.
to render like space scenes and spaceships
It is.
apparently than organic
Yeah, it
creatures.
is.
So
Yeah, I can actually speak to this. So I've been working on a 3D model that's a very elaborate space station with like a big rotating ring, and there's like different pods and stuff. So it's actually pretty easy to make space scenes look what we accept as like realistic, because you have the sun and that's it. There's no other lights coming. There's no environmental lighting. There's just one hard point of sunlight, and there's shadows wherever the highlight doesn't hit. So it's harsh lighting, which is really easy to render, and it's good for textures. It's good for rendering. It's super easy. So space scenes are really easy, and everything's metal and hard surfaces. There's no like liquid, there's no like flesh, there's no clothing. So it's like when something can't get a space ship right, it's kind of like, come on, like, you have no excuse. This is like the easiest thing to render and the most visually appealing.
Yeah.
So we're talking about effects now. Let's talk about the special effects in this movie. There are so many. There's too many.
Yeah.
Those are like, it's the whole movie.
Yeah. It's like, hey guys, we got this new program. We need to make a movie around this so we can show off some of our effects.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, this is going to be a CGI movie. We need some real human beings in there.
Yeah. So one special effect that was totally pointless and awful was the hyperspace squid. So in the very beginning of the movie, they get like a tour of the ship before it's even launched. Like Joey walks on for the first time. He's like, whoa, looking around. So on the back wall, behind him, on the back wall, which is kind of on the left side of the screen, there's like this huge circle screen. It's like a big circle, like TV monitor. And there's like this weird squiddy thing like bouncing, wiggling around.
I
Do
don't
you guys remember that?
this.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like,
Oh, it's weird and it looks terrible. And it's like, is this part of the ship? Is this like... It looks like an organic thing, which is what really throws me off. Like, it's not machinery. It looks like an organic like form. It's wiggling around inside the circular chamber, like a hyperdrive or something. It's bad.
You gotta have that good old space squid.
Maybe that's like the hyper like channels they travel through, like a wormhole, but it doesn't look like a wormhole. And they don't show it ever again, which is funny. It's like never in any other shot. Like, is this screen serve a purpose? Do they touch it? Do they control this thing? I don't know. Dumb.
That's interesting. I wish I noticed that. I don't know. Maybe I just noticed how bad the graphics were and just decided to block it out. I don't know.
well, I mean, like, there's a scene where they're with the doctor and there's West and then there's a superior. And I'm like, does anybody else notice that those leather jackets they're wearing look too big?
Oh, I didn't.
Like some of like the suits were really cool for that time, but like there was just like the normal everyday clothing. It just looked awful. Like a lot of the clothes, like whoever, I don't know if it was on purpose, but some of like the seams were too big. There was too much fat. It just, I don't know, looked weird. Like they meant to have bigger actors and they couldn't hire them, so they hired normal.
Tiny people. Their spacesuits are awesome. I'm gonna say I do like the spacesuit design.
Yeah, the rubber suits weren't too bad.
Yeah, like it was a cool concept. I had never seen any suits like that, which is I guess is why I like it. And they seem to be the actors seem to move naturally in them. They didn't seem like in a Batman suit, you know,
like constricted and everything.
Like if they did, I would hate them. They
Thank
would just
goodness.
ruin it. But
Thank goodness they didn't add the bat nipples on there.
oh, no. Yeah, well, the women did have some certain pieces on the front of their suit that was very unnecessary.
Very custom tailor made.
A little too custom. So some of another good thing that I did like about the scenes was the city. The city and the launch scene was really good. Like when the ship launches up and it shows like the city.
Yeah.
Like
I did wonder how the heck that ship was able to launch as efficiently as it did, considering it's like a disc shape and it's going upwards. Like there should be a lot of wind resistance on that thing.
Speaking of that ship, Angela was telling me some fun facts about the ship that launched and then it disassembled. What were you?
Oh yeah, the first, like the ship that they came out of, the Jupiter 1, I think is what they call it. That was the original ship design in the TV show. So
yeah, that's like a flying saucer.
Yeah, but at the same time, like it shouldn't be able to launch like that. That's not very good.
Like reaching escape velocity, that's not going to happen if you're a flat disc. There's the awful aerodynamics. They could have pointed it vertically, like sliced through the air.
Yeah, like that would have been more believable, but. No, but
I think they wanted to honor the original because they did so many callbacks to the original.
Yeah.
So I think they were doing that by having it launch off as the Jupiter 1 as a flat disc, and then later it breaks apart and Jupiter 2, cool. It's sort of a weird way to do a
concept. Space like a frisbee.
I don't know. Like there's this movie, like when you think of like surprises and stuff, they did it in a lot of weird, awkward ways.
They did. They were trying to do something
like Dr. Smith's Spider-Man. robot.
Oh gosh, Spider-Man. Let's call him Spider-Man. That's what he is. He gets bit by a radioactive spider and he transforms.
Exactly. He's like the awful version of what Spider-Man could have been. Well, you know what I wonder though with his whole design? Like, why does he have a super long neck, like a giraffe or something?
Yeah.
Because spiders don't.
That really
have
made it
that.
look awful.
Yeah, I think he looked awful
the
when
head
his head
movements.
was. Yeah, his head movements, especially when he had the cloak on. It looked like it was all jittering around inside of that cloak. I'm like, am I seeing things?
Yeah.
Or is that just bad compositing there? Because that looked awful.
Yeah, I think it was a mix. Like I didn't get to see what it looked like before they put the effects on. So I don't know if there was like the guy's face was actually visible and they were tracking it, or if it was just too dark and they just added the face movements themselves.
I don't know.
It looks like they added it themselves, like without tracking the real actor's face, because it just didn't look natural.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
They did a decent job though with the face itself. I saw what they did. They laser scanned Gary Oldman's face, which is really cool. So they didn't actually model his face. They digitally scanned it, kind of like what we do now when we scan objects and digitize them. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And then they used face tracking dots on his face when he did the scenes, just like they did in Avatar, which is really interesting.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah, so his actually dialogue was recorded, and they transferred those dot movements into the 3D model of his face, which they of course spider-fied and made crazy. But so that's how the animation was actually tracked from his role, from Gary Oldman's face, which is a pretty cool technology for 98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still.
But yeah,
it
the
was
neck
weird,
and the the keyframing was not natural, and it just looked weird.
Yeah.
It looked like y'all were saying. It looked very jittery. Like what? Like you
With
could
the cape on, it was cool. I guess it's a cool character design with a cape on.
I wonder why he decided to have like a cape on in the first place when the only person around is Will and he knows what he is. So it's like, who's he trying to hide himself from?
I think he was two things. I think he was hiding the terrifyingness of his true form, because he took it off like as a big reveal to Will, and Will was like terrified. So that was the first thing. But the second thing was he had eggs on him, and I don't know if that was obvious, but I think maybe he was trying to hide the fact that he had baby spiders in him.
I don't know.
Will.
Oh, it's just weird. You would think Will, living with him for so many years, would figure out something's not quite right about him. That's another plot thing.
Like maybe he'd walk in on him using the bathroom and see. I don't know. It happens when you live with people.
Yeah, sure. It's the only two of you on a desolate planet, and apparently there's no.
Oh, sorry.
So before they went into the time bubble, I guess is what we can call it, was Will Robinson. Will Robinson was sitting down creating a robot basically, and then that's when they heard the Morse code from the doctor, and he's like, "What's that?" He's like, "That's Morse code," So that robot was unassembled, and then they go into the space bubble, and they encounter a robot again, and he's in his full form.
The finished version, yeah.
Did they steal him from the future?
I don't think
They did. So finished future robot with the 3 arms, he did come back to the ship with him. But here's one thing they never discuss. What about the robot that Will had already started to assemble with the head?
Got two.
He's got to kill him. He's got to turn him off or something.
Exactly.
No.
That's what,
So weird.
This is weird.
I was very confused on I was like, wait, he just stole the robot from the future. But what about the robot that was in the layer? Like that he was working on? I was like, wait, he just...
Hey, who are you? I am the real robot.
That's a conversation I kind of want to see.
Yeah. The head on the ground talking to them. So a weird thing, the head of the robot was actually taken off the wall. If you look at the set pictures of, I think, where the big blue robot is stored in the wall, there's like these circular lights on the wall on left and to the left and to the right of the port where the big blue robot fits. So those lights, there's 3 lights in them each, and that's the head that he used for the robot.
Huh.
It's really weird.
That's cool.
Okay.
I mean, use your
Doesn't make
environment
sense.
to make something, but dang, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, what are they, when they're on the wall, are they just light fixtures? And how did that become a fully sentient head of a robot?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he used it because it has a light, so every time it talks, it would flicker, but
Looked cool.
yeah, no, it worked. I liked it.
Strange. So other effects, I really, really do like that big blue robot design. I thought that was awesome. What do you guys think of the blue robot?
And he was practical, right?
Yeah.
All of them
real.
were. I like that. Like whoever designed, I didn't really get into the nitty gritty of who made that and designed it and operated it, but I really liked whoever did that, especially in 1998.
I just want to know, where is that thing now? It's got to be somewhere.
Well, I do know that the original robot from the TV show that had a man inside, I know that they pulled him apart for another robot for another TV show, and everybody was devastated.
What?
But They found some original parts, and some people actually bought them and restored the robots, and they actually roll around like like when you go to conventions, you see the R2 builders. They do that kind of stuff. They remodel it. But with the 1998 one, I want to know where it is. Like, can you go to like Disney and find it on display? I mean, I've never seen it when I went to Disney, but now that I know what I'm looking for,
There's some really great robot design. I really like it. I remember when I was a kid and I saw that robot, I was just like enamored. I was just obsessed with that robot design. I drew it for like months. I tried to make it out of Legos. There was a toy that came out of it and I wanted that toy so bad.
Aww.
You ever get it?
No.
Childhood dreams.
Funny story. When I was like 10 and younger, maybe, I don't know, from like 2 or 3 years old up to like 8 or 10, like my family was like not, well, money-wise, we didn't have a lot of money. I had a great childhood. I didn't like lack for anything. Like I ate all my meals, but like we just didn't have a lot of extra money. So there's like no photos of me when I was a kid. Like I had Legos and that's all I cared about, thankfully. But we couldn't afford a whole lot of stuff.
but now look, you had a childhood where you didn't have many photos, and now you have like all these great photos of your children now. So
I'm subconsciously making up for that by vicariously living as a photographer.
Nice.
That's
so funny.
I mean, like your kids are gonna have like all these great throwback photos. I'm like,
yeah, totally.
Like, I want those.
I plan on making an awesome photo book of all my kids' cosplays and all the cute little photos I've done of them.
Aww.
And we can look back at it when they're like 20 and 30 and just laugh at them.
Nice.
Like you were weird. I'm just joking.
Like show them to their future boyfriends, girlfriends, etc.
Look what you're getting into. Okay.
Plenty of blackmail material for like the wedding speech and for graduation stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But well, that's a bummer you never got the toy. Who made it?
Yeah,
did they even make the toy anymore?
I'm sure you can find it somewhere.
Daniel will look for it on eBay and buy it for himself for his birthday.
$4.
Tell your kids, this is what I want for Father's Day, children.
Oh, I never got it as a kid.
I give you great photos, now give me what I want.
So speaking of this robot, one of the effects that I really was impressed by, and I liked the application of it, was when young Will was controlling the robot remotely through the holographic thing.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was cool. Like that was well done. The camera was moving and the things were moving with his body parts. That was really well done.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like there are great visuals effects to this movie, and then you have the monkey and the spider.
Yeah. Then there's that. Yeah, Spider-Man. Not that great.
Was it two different companies, or were they really that rushed?
I didn't probably rushed.
I'm like, man, like because like you see the visuals of the spaceships, you see the visuals of the holograms, you see the visual of Will Robinson getting up and guiding the robot, but then you I don't know, the monkey and the robot. I mean, the monkey and the spider just kind of threw me off.
Even the miniatures are pretty well done. There's some scenes that I could tell were miniatures that were still like enjoyable and well done. A cool thing that I learned from one of the videos was that they made a miniature of Jupiter 2, and I don't know how big it was. It could have been 10 feet long, could have been 5 feet. Miniatures are usually pretty big for spaceships. And they did a bunch of photos of it. They took like high resolution photos of the top and bottom and front and sides, and they mapped those images of the texture onto the 3D model of the 3D ship. So that way the 3D ship actually looked realistic and looked, textured and believable, which is that's a technique that we use today. We make a 3D model, then we slap real photos of real textures or of the physical model onto the 3D model.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. I can't say they're pioneering new techniques, but you can tell that they're using lots of different creative techniques to achieve certain visuals, which I like. I like how they the mix of practical and CGI.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah,
I mean, at least they're using two practical things of like taking the photo of the ship and scanning, the doctor's face.
Yeah,
so there's not a lot of the discontinuity between the two. They look similar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just the awful spider. Anyways, but but interesting, like the effects when they opened up the portal for him to jump, for the older Will Robertson to jump in and change stuff. That was good too. Like the visual of like the portal. I don't know if it was
pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, so it looked like a very dangerous portal though, because people were dying when they went into it. But
that was. Interesting.
So, except for Will, who somehow hit the side of the wall and got stuck by his necklace.
That was weird. You think he choked to death? Nope. And another thing I don't understand is why did the robot spider Dr. Smith try to throw the other Dr. Smith into the portal to try to kill him? Because if he did that, then he would have died too. because it's his past self.
That depends. There is a line in the movie where they say that they're like this second time bubble. It's almost like whatever happens inside won't affect the outside. You remember that line?
Sure. Okay.
It's a stupid plot saver. Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
Loophole.
Whatever.
It is. It's pretty dumb. I agree.
He's like, yes,
But
I
what
can
you said
kill
is-
myself.
But what you said is right. They should have pulled it Back to the Future, and like he starts to disappear. You know.
Yeah.
Speaking of the time bubbles, I love the first time bubble. That's a cool idea. Why is there a time bubble out in space?
I don't know. That's what I don't understand.
What?
With the
Yeah, I
spaceship,
didn't
you mean?
understand that one.
How did I get there? Yeah, where they go in there and then they see the Proteus. Like,
Because plot
that-
device. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, another plot issue I have with too is that if Dr. Smith got infected by the spider scratch or whatever it was, he's still infected on the ship, like the actual Dr. Smith when they go whisking off into space again at the very end. He's still with them. He's still infected. He's gonna come. He's gonna
didn't think about
transform, kill them all anyway.
oh god, they better kill him or cure him or something. Yeah,
So
that's so true.
Yeah, there's that.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of loopholes in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Speaking-
they
yeah,
didn't explain
like-
the robot, the cut, and it's like what?
In his time travel device, it's a tunnel into the past, but why is there a time bubble on the outside that makes you go further, and then there's another space bubble out in space? Like, I just don't get. Like, why are there bubbles? Is this a tunnel or is this a bubble? Is both?
No.
A lot of messed up stuff they're messing with.
Anyway. Yeah.
A lot of messed up time portals and bubbles.
And the Jupiter 2, inside the future bubble, why is it over there? Why is it not in the same place that Jupiter 2 really was landed and the family was coming from? Like they had to
So-
travel to the Jupiter 2? Like, why was it moved?
I don't know. Like, well, there's a lot of stuff that didn't like. So are the bubbles future and the portals past?
Yeah, basically.
Huh. Interesting way of thinking about it.
We'll
That's
never
a-
know why.
It's a future bubble and a portal past. Like, okay.
Okay.
Anybody notice how terrible of a pilot Don West is on that ending scene? He's this huge space rock just floating through the air real slow.
Yeah.
He looks away from the screen and runs into
Boom.
it.
I don't know why I didn't notice that part.
Like, it's weird. They use the same special effects shot twice with a weird long gap in the middle. So they first take off, and you're looking out the windshield. You see stuff exploding, and that big rock goes in the air, and it's spinning real slow. And then other stuff happens, like there's turbulence, and they're talking. There's quite a big gap, and then it cuts back to the same angle, and you see that rock up in the air again, and that's when he looks over to the right, like he looks at Judy or someone, and then they hit it.
Oh boy.
I'm like, wait, that was weirdly cut.
Okay,
was a
so
bad edit.
that wasn't just me not understanding what I just watched. Okay, so you pointed out exactly what I was thinking. I was like, "What's up with the rock? Like, there's there two rocks?" Like,
Yeah, it was weird. They didn't space that out right. Like they should have shown no rock for the first cut, and then the second time show it, and that's when he hits it.
yeah.
Like it comes out of nowhere or falls on them or something. I don't know.
That is weird.
I don't know.
But
Another thing about the suits. Did you see like when she was cutting off the suit off of West? How like all the wires and everything they were on the back when they're I don't
yeah,
know.
that's cool.
I was like, wow, like it's not just like a rubber suit or a suit like a scuba suit that you put on. It's actually has wires.
Yeah,
and
technology.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I liked him because you're right. It wasn't just material. It was like technology. I like that. Talk about how dumb that ending plot was where they fly into this planet.
Yeah, we're gonna use the planet's gravity to slingshot ourselves out and get enough speed.
Does that remind you
Sure.
of something earlier? Huh?
I know.
A sun?
Yeah.
What's what they've been flying into dangerous things? Like that's the dumbest plan.
Yeah.
Flying into a breaking apart planet. They don't know how broken apart it is. That could be totally solid a few miles down and they
Yeah.
hit it and die.
I didn't recall seeing like lava or anything falling around
No.
them or anything in the core when they were flying through the core of the planet. So that's
Yeah, which took them like 2 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly the wording that the dad said, but the dad has jumped through the portal into the spaceship. They're about to die again, like no safe anything. And he's like,
Yeah.
drive straight, like we all were saying. And he's like, but he's like, no, I know. Like I'm like, okay. It's like,
Well, he saw it happen. He saw the
yeah, I know, but like, why drive? I don't know. Like what y'all are
dumb.
saying, like why drive to the planet?
Oh,
So speaking of the dad, that's not really their dad. You realize that? It's the dad from the future. He just
Yeah.
hops in and takes the place of himself, who's actually
weird.
in Will's ship.
yeah.
There's a time loop involved here because let's see if I can get this straight. So he jumps through the portal. The dad jumps through the portal and goes to the ship before it takes off. where they're going to die. They're going to hit the rock. And then he saves the day by telling them to go through the planet. Well, he jumped into a past where that dad is actually across the field in Jupiter 2. Fighting with Dr. Smith, and Don West is over there and all that stuff. Well,
That's
not Don
weird.
West. He stays behind. That's what it is. The dad has stayed behind. It's weird. It's like, so he's over there and they're going to take off successfully, and he's going to watch them take off successfully with himself in the ship.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's time loops
Time
are
paradox.
a headache.
Woo. You know what else I don't understand about that whole ending part is that Will sets, I guess, the time portal for the dad to go back like a few minutes in the past to right whatever went wrong. But it's like, why didn't he set the portal to where he could have gone back like on Earth before anything bad happened? Warn everybody about Dr. Smith's, sabotage and nothing.
I'll tell you why, because then there'd be two dads.
I mean, apparently it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Is it like a sort of time machine where it erases your past self when you go back? I don't know what kind of time laws they have.
I don't there's a lot of like what kind of moments. Like when you watch the movie, there was some parts that made sense, and I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. And then it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. And it's like so many loops, and I was like, good Lord, like it's a good movie, but the movie, like, how many years has it been since the 68 to 90? How many years is that? Like 30 plus 30. Years? You would think they would do a better job on the story. They had 30 years. It's like, you think about...
to work on it. No, they probably had like 5 months to work on the story.
Probably. I mean, but tried. Like, it's like when they rebooted Star Wars, everybody was freaking out that they had so many years, I think from the early 2000s to 2016. People were freaking out that they were going to ruin it. And they did. I mean, like, there's a lot of people that like it and don't like it, but I don't think they ruined it to reboot it. But I think in the Lost in Space, even though it was fun to watch and there was a lot of like technology back then, and you're like, wow, that's actually cool. But some of the plots and stories, I was just like, what? Like, why? Some
of the good things that I did like, well, it was the pacing of the movie. Like I said earlier, it was pretty nonstop. Like there wasn't too many dull moments. And if there were, they were kind of short.
Yeah.
Like pouring water on Joey's head.
Yeah.
Don West, the creeper.
Yeah.
But it was just a lot of things happening back to back, and I liked it. It wasn't as action packed as that as the credit scene, which pretty much gave me a seizure.
Yeah. But those credits were something else. Like people who have epilepsy should not watch.
Yeah, like they need to put an epilepsy warning.
Yeah, they really
did. Freaking terrible, and the music was so 90s.
Yeah,
little electronic drums.
That techno remix of the Lost in Space theme. It was
and the stupid like little audio clips of them talking. Super cheesy.
It would have been so bad if it wasn't for the freaking the flashing lights and everything.
I know,
the editing was just seizure inducing for sure. Like I couldn't stare at the credits. I'm like, I had to look away.
Look away, don't look. Did you guys know that there was a 2004 TV show that attempted to be made about Lost in Space?
No.
Yeah. So I think it was WB. They got the rights to it, and they were going to name it Robinson's Lost in Space, like with a semicolon in the middle.
Sure.
So, yeah. So they made a pilot episode, which you can watch on YouTube, and it's freaking awful.
Oh dear.
I encourage you all to look that up and be thankful that that didn't get made. So yeah, it was like 2003, 2004. They tried to get it made, but I don't know how show business works. But if someone didn't buy it, or like the studio was like, no, we don't want to like continue through and invest money. I don't know how it works, but it didn't get made, thankfully, and it was terrible.
Yeah. I mean, if the pilot's as awful as you say, then I guess all the companies are just like, ugh. It said no, so that's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, the robot itself in the show is just so cheesy. It's like, oh gosh, why? Like the robots in '98 were way cooler. How is this even possible?
Oh, well, that sounds scary.
No, the robot in 2018 is cooler.
Oh yes, way cooler.
That one gets girls all excited, which creeps me out personally.
Whoa. Oh gosh, what?
You haven't heard of this? Oh no,
robot fetish.
Yeah, there are some girls out there that are actually attracted to this new robot, and I think
so
it's
emotional and
creepy.
Sweet.
They just
he has feelings.
They like how he looks, and I'm like, okay,
wow,
I don't understand.
Alrighty then.
To actually have a human in there, it's a really cool suit.
It is.
Yeah, that suit's pretty cool. I can't wait to see cosplayers like wear it at conventions.
Ah, Yes.
Yeah.
So another cool thing I found about that was the set for the Jupiter 2 that was made and going to be used in that TV show, which didn't happen, was later used. The set for the Jupiter 2, I guess it was the bridge, was used in Battlestar Galactica for the Pegasus. So cool.
Interesting. That's cool.
Nice.
Anyway, continue. Sorry.
How dare they take Battlestar Galactica off of Netflix? Who do they think they are?
All the sets in Battlestar Galactica are awesome.
I think I'm gonna have to watch all of the Battlestar Galactica, and I think one of these times we should review the TV show.
Oh my gosh, I would love to do that.
I have to watch it all like so fast. Then I've never seen anything.
No, it would have to be like a kind of out there in the future kind of conversation.
Have you never seen anything from Battlestar Galactica?
Nope, I've never seen a single episode, single clip.
Oh my gosh, it is my number one.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's true. My only like exposure to Battlestar Galactica is that I drew one of the actresses from it for a client, and
awesome.
I saw
who was it, Starbuck or who was it?
It was Caprica.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and then and then I saw Dwight cosplay as someone from on The Office. Somebody from.
I was waiting for you to make an Office reference.
Right, of course.
Awesome.
He was some weird alien.
So in this TV show they never launched, they used the set of the Jupiter 2 for Battlestar Galactica. Interesting. I would have never.
For the Pegasus. The Pegasus is a Battlestar ship. So it's like Battlestar Pegasus is another ship. So they used it in there. But the main ship, it's not for the main ship in the show. That's the Galactica. Yeah. But pretty cool. And honestly, I think that happens a lot with sci-fi and fantasy. They'll reuse sets to save money, and they'll redo it. They'll add stuff and take stuff away. But I imagine that happens a lot.
Yeah. I bet. Like
recycling.
I wonder when you see like older movies like Indiana Jones. I wonder if they used like there were scenes. I wondered, they made it Indiana Jones, the Crystal Skull. I wonder if they used any of it from National Treasures. But anyways,
yeah, you never know. So Matt LeBlanc, while he was filming this movie, he also was filming Friends simultaneously.
Yeah. Actually, there was a cameo for the Doctor and Friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they're recording They're recording a war movie, like a World War II movie, in the cameo of Friends, and it's quite funny.
It's funny. Yeah. So Matt LeBlanc was shooting this movie in England for some weird reason, and then he would fly to Los Angeles like over the weekend and do Friends.
Oh
no wonder he looked tired.
Yeah, he did.
Right. It did seem a little burnt out. It's like, I hate this movie.
That's probably why I never did a movie ever again, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably. So the budget of this movie I found was $80 million. And it only made $69 million in America. Now it made 67 elsewhere, but it didn't break the budget in America, which is kind of sad.
I don't know how I feel about that. $80 million?
Mm-hmm.
Those were some expensive monkey CGI effects.
Yeah.
I wonder how the people that put the money into this movie felt about the monkey and spiders.
Yeah, they probably weren't too happy with it. I think the movie it sold a lot. Like it did good when it first came out because of all the hype and all the the franchise connection and Joey being in there. But yeah, I don't think it performed too well, and it was kind of a little bit of a flop afterwards. And there was some kind of lawsuit with like Pizza Hut invested money in the movie to have advertising. And there was like a lawsuit between them and New Line Cinema, and it's just weird. I don't understand it all, but Pizza Hut was
that must be a bummer. You put your heart and soul in a movie, regardless of the outcome. It's like, you don't think it's going to be a bad movie. You have all these people on board, and then the outcome happens, and then like everybody's like, no, and then like. I bet you that sucked. Like how hard it would have been to all the people that were on board with you for like the last year are like, never mind, we want our money back. It's like, oh, like that must suck.
Yeah.
I've never, I don't know. I don't know how that feels, but I'm like, man, like you dedicate like so much time in a movie, and then it like turns on you after your year hard work or year and a half years hard work.
The next thing you know, you're a washed up actor with no jobs, and you're living in a van down by the river.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Chris Farley.
It's a hard life. What?
Van down by the river, Chris Farley's.
Oh, I know. I was pretending not to get the reference.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, right over my head.
Just happened to say the exact same line as this now. Well, guys, I think that wraps it up for this movie. I hope you guys didn't hate it too much. If any of you guys watched the movie just for the sake of this episode, I had to apologize, but at the same time, I think this should be somewhat required watching. It's a classic bit of 90s science fiction. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Let us know what your thoughts are on this movie. You can comment on any of our social media posts, such as Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Let us know if you liked it, loved it, or a little bit of both, kind of like me. And I look forward to doing an episode covering the TV show on Netflix of Lost in Space. They just announced that season 2 was confirmed to be in production. So once that's done, and maybe we'll watch both seasons, and binge watch, and then we'll do an episode and talk about it. And we'll definitely be calling back to this movie, I think. Yeah, well, that's it, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I think it'd be really cool to have like the Martian spacesuit.
Like from Looney Tunes?
No. Yeah, that would be funny. Talk about the Matt Damon Martian.
Oh, that one. Not in DC universe Martian? Not that Martian? Manhunter?
I'm drawing a blank.
You don't even know what I'm talking about.
I'm drawing a serious blank.
You're talking about John Carter of Mars? Which Martian? Oh, the Martian, the movie The Martian.
Yeah,
that's
just
Matt Damon.
Just a spacesuit.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I just nerded out right
I was
there.
like, Matt Damon, the Martian. You're like, did you see I'm like, no.
Matt Damon wasn't in John Carter of Mars?
I was super confused. I was like,
I think this might be our end credit scene right there. That's funny. I just cycled through all the Mars movies I could think of except for the one named The Martian.